Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 84 on the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. On today's podcast, we are going to revisit an episode that we did a few weeks ago. This is kind of part two of that episode. If you remember, we had two of our dispatchers come in and talk about their week on the road. They picked one of their owner-operators that they wanted to ride with for a week, and they spent the week with them, and we heard all about it. That was on episode 80, so you need to go back and listen to that or watch it to give you an idea. But so this week we got the same scenario, except we throw in a curve in here on you. We got actually one of the dispatchers and the driver that he rode with happened to pop in the office today when we were getting ready to do this, and he's going to join us. So we're going to sit down with Sawyer, Floyd, Bobby Taylor, and William Lewis and visit with them on their week in the truck. So thanks for listening to the podcast each week. I appreciate everybody doing it. It's something that I can't believe we're on our 84th episode, but it's really good to know that it works. We hear something about it every week, and we want you guys to listen to it. And I appreciate all your input on letting us know what you want to hear. I've heard from a couple of people. Art Garland's real good about telling me what he wants to hear. And I'm working on it, Art. That's that last one you told me I'm working on, trying to figure out how to do that. So it's good, though. That's the purpose of this podcast, is to get it out there to our owner-operators and their families. So it's good information for you guys to be successful, because at the end of the day, Oakley Trucking wants our owner-operators to be successful, because if you're successful, we're successful. That's exactly right, William. So that's the way it works here. Oakley Update, let's do it real quick. And Oakley Update is sponsored by Arrow Truck Sales. Let's hear from our sponsor, Arrow Truck Sales. Go see Keith Wilson and Trey Visor at Arrow Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri. Over the past 8 years, Arrow has built a great working relationship with Oakley Trucking. They specialize in getting new owner-operators approved for trucks and upgrading existing ones. Carrying a wide selection of all makes and models, they pride themselves with helping customers through every step of buying a used truck, including service after the sale. Listen to new Oakley owner-operator and Arrow customer Sean McMahon.
Yeah, it's my first time being an owner-operator, so it was first for me, and they made it real easy for me. I wound up getting a 2018 579 Pete with the Cummins 450 and a 13-speed. I worked hauling cars for 15 years, and I've been driving about 23 years. Yeah, I would send everybody I know to Mr. Keith over there at Arrow Truck Sales. I've had a really good experience with him, and first kind of guy.
When you go see Arrow Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri, tell them you heard this ad on the Oakley Podcast, and they will give you half off your first payment when financing through transport funding. Give Keith Wilson and Trey Visor a call at 573-216-6047. So, Oakley Update today, I wanted to talk about two things. One is recruiting cards. And I know we send you guys emails and we put it on Facebook and stuff about turning in recruiting cards, but I want to explain this just a little bit. So we need every lead we can get, and it takes a lot of leads. We got to go through a lot of leads to spit out a good owner-operator. So we pay our owner-operators $150 for a lead. That's just for the name and phone number of somebody. Doesn't even include the recruiting bonus that you can possibly get of $5,000. So I need our owner-operators to, when somebody comes up and talks to you at a truck stop, fuel island, whatever, make an effort to get their name and phone number or even their email address. It's just something that we can contact them. We can send them a link to the podcast. We can get them in our database, or we won't be bugging them to death, but man, we just need a good lead. And then in turn, we send you that $150 next week just for the lead. No, it doesn't matter if we lease him on or not. We just need the lead. So, and the reason I'm saying this, guys, and I think I've probably said this before, but we pay thousands of dollars every month of your hard-earned money that you make for Oakley Trucking to these advertising companies. And I'd rather pay it to you for the lead. So we pay these advertising companies all this money to make our phone ring, get us short apps, just people our recruiters can talk to. So I get better ones from our owner-operators, and I'd rather pay you. And then on top of that, once he's in the system, in the recruiting program system, he's your guy. You're attached to him. And if it takes 6 months or a year to get him over here, you still get that $5,000 from him when he comes over here. So don't give up. You got to get a lot of leads to get a hire. There's no doubt about that. It never goes one-on-one, very rarely. So just help us in that way of getting us some good leads so we can talk to them. Also on the Oakley Update, I like to always recognize one of our owner-operators that's been here a while, and this week it's Tony Patrick. He started back in October 2008. His truck number is 8433. He's been with us 13 years. He is just a great guy that is a hard worker. I mean, I asked his dispatcher what he thought about him. He said, man, this dude's a hard worker, a money maker. He has actually used to be in the end-dump division for a long time, and now he's been in pneumatics I don't know how long. He's been owner-operator of the year in both divisions. So that tells you right there he's a pretty stout guy and gets the job done. So, you don't go unnoticed, Tony Patrick. And I appreciate everything you do, and Oakley does too, and you're definitely an asset to the company. All right, let's get cranked up, and first meet our guests, the guys we got with us real quick. Get them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get into this week of being on the road, hanging out. Dispatcher gets in the truck. Hope you didn't let him drive. Dispatcher gets in the truck and operates, goes with the owner-operator for a week, in and out of these places, figuring out the good, the bad, and the ugly, hanging out with them and learning a little bit about trucking. And so that helps you on the inside, so understand what's going on. So let's start with Sawyer Floyd. Sawyer, you're with us. Give our audience a little bit of background and introduction on yourself, please.
Yeah, so I've been with Oakley for a year and a half. I'm a pneumatics dispatcher here, working my way up.
Where you live?
From Valonia, just north of Little Rock here, about 30, 40 minutes. I went to University of Central Arkansas, got a bachelor's in supply chain and logistics. So,
man, I actually went to school for this.
Exactly.
That's unusual.
Maybe prepared me a little extra,
right.
Hopefully. But, yeah, I really enjoy working here. It's a great company to be with.
You married?
No, single, no kids. So,
living the dream. How old are you?
24 years old.
Oh, my gosh. You remember those days, Bobby, 24 years old?
That's a long time ago.
Long time, me too. Okay, good.
Outside of work, the warmer months, I like to bass fish tournaments. Jeremy knows we compete about every other weekend against each other. In the winter, I'm a big duck hunter, so that keeps me pretty busy throughout the year in my off time.
Yeah, pretty similar to what a lot of people do around here. All right, Mr. Bobby Taylor, introduce.
One thing Sawyer's forgetting, he just learned to scuba dive this last summer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, took a trip down to Sulphur, Louisiana with Bobby, met him down there. We went scuba diving down there with him.
All
He
right.
got me certified, so that was pretty fun.
Did you get certified?
Yeah.
Look at you
It's
go.
a fun trip.
He learned that hot Louisiana weather is different from hot Arkansas.
Right.
That humidity will get you.
Well, and what I'm thinking, goes back to me and him competing in bass tournaments. The only reason he's doing that is to get a leg up so he can dive and find these bass. That's what he's doing.
That might work.
That might work. Bobby, tell everybody who you are.
Bobby Taylor. I've been with Oakley as a owner-operator since 2018. Me and my brother both leased on September of 2018. We loving it.
Where you live at?
Sulphur, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. You got family?
I'm married. I've got 3 kids. The oldest one's fixing to be 21. The youngest one's 2.
Oh, my.
And I got a 6-year-old in between.
Good for you.
So,
that's good. So you stay busy doing that. What do you do in your off time?
don't have much of that. Well, I just finished up my dive master certification whenever I was helping Sawyer get his certification. Got my wife and my oldest son both certified this last summer.
Y'all do a lot of diving down there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, not as much as I want to, but
right.
We get a little bit of diving done. I'm a commercial pilot, both single and multi-engine. I hold a flight instructor rating. don't have much time to do much flight instructing, but I do still hold the ratings.
Trucking your passion, though?
Since I've been with Oakley, I've really enjoyed it.
Good. All right. How about William? Introduce yourself.
Man, I'm William Lewis. I'm a hopper dispatcher. I've been here about 3.5 years. I dispatched frac sand for about a year and a half. Been doing hoppers about the other half. I'm from El Dorado, Arkansas, single like Sawyer. I think we're the only two in the office that are single.
Probably.
And everybody else is engaged or married, I believe. It's kind of crazy.
Well, they're all a little older than y'all, I think.
Well, I'm 28.
28. Okay. Now, you guys, before we get into the trip, you guys worked in the shop.
Yes.
Did.
Yes.
How long did you work in Oakley's shop before you came inside?
I was out there for a month.
Month?
Yeah.
I was out there about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, middle of July.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was hot. I kept on looking at the office, waiting
Wait.
for the day to tell me to come on in.
How was that experience, though, now, a few years later? What do you think that helped you with?
It helps tremendously. I mean, just coming in, never been around a pneumatic tank. Wouldn't even know half the parts that they're talking about if I hadn't been out there working on them or any of that. So, you got these guys, they have issues over the road. They're explaining everything, with the experience out there in the shop, you have a
Get a
grasp
visual
of what they're talking about. And,
Like a wheel seal,
Yeah.
you know how long that usually takes to get repaired, and that can be quite
yeah.
some time. Or like a tire. Shoot, I was putting tires on quicker than ever out there. I think I did 100 in one day.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, I could still probably do it after all that.
That's good. And I would think that helps you. Just to
Absolutely.
understand, that's a good point, Sawyer, about understanding those guys on the road when they're having issues and they can bounce it off somebody that's actually been in the shop and knows what's going on a little bit. So
It helps us, too, because they can sometimes come up with an idea that we may not know about.
Right. That's a good point. How to fix something. Yeah, believe it or not, there's a lot of owner-operators out there that zero maintenance. Zero, I'm not doing anything, I don't know how to do anything with this, and that's not bad. That's just part of, there's always guys that don't know how to fix things.
a lot of times there's simple fixes,
Yeah.
if they just try for 15, 20 minutes, they can knock something out that'll save them 3 hours of going
yeah.
into a shop.
Hours, yeah, that's exactly right. So when supervisors told you guys, all right, y'all got to go out for a week in a truck, what was your first thought?
Well, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, a whole week?
Oh,
What
What about you, Sawyer?
I was looking forward to it. I mean, I was skeptical a little bit like William, but, I didn't have anything against it. I was ready to go, and, got to do it.
That's right. There you go. Got to get it done. So we'll start with you, Sawyer. How did you pick Bobby? I mean, I'm assuming you got a list of guys you're dispatching. You get to pick who you
Right.
want to ride with, as long as they want you to.
Yeah. So I just kind of picked, me and Bobby get along great. We've hung out outside of work. I went down to his place at Louisiana and spent a weekend down there with them. So just comfortable, been around him. So
how'd y'all's week start out?
he came up Sunday from Sulphur, met us up here Monday morning, got the trailer washed out. We headed off towards Middleton, Tennessee, loaded some clay over there at
Let me pause you right there.
Yeah.
What he's leaving out is we did all this as the hurricane had hit New Orleans, was coming straight up to the Mississippi area
Oh, really?
in Tennessee where we were going to load
Yep,
at.
yep. Nice. Now, did you cheat like Hunter did and try to plan the whole week out for you guys?
I did, and actually we did the same thing as Hunter. So we kind of got the same route, so this is probably going to sound a little redundant.
That's all right.
But we had some interesting things happen now. out there. So.
Well, tell us about some of it, Bobby. Tell us what went on your world over there.
Well, starting out, my first thing was I got my dispatcher with me so he can make some phone calls to make sure they're going to be open and loaded for this weather coming in.
Good point.
I didn't want to get stuck over there in the middle of a hurricane and not get loaded.
Right.
We did get over there. It wasn't raining too bad. We stayed a little bit ahead of the weather. He was getting a little antsy because we got delayed about 2.5 hours waiting to load. That's very normal. And we got loaded and latched her down, sealed her up, and let him go over the list of seals we had to put on at that place. It's about 20-something seals that they put on the trailer.
Oh, really?
At that location. They seal everything from the pop-off valve to the blower to the load lines.
What were you hauling?
What is
Clay.
that? Clay.
Clay.
And then it was a pretty good ride, but he'd had some calls the night before, so there was a couple times he was nodding off over there a little bit, but he'd had a long day. We didn't shut down until about 10 p.m.
Oh, man.
We made it all the way into Columbia, Indiana.
That's
that first
my
night.
bedtime.
That's past mine. Yeah, you was ready to shut down, wasn't you?
Yeah. I didn't take it easy on him. Like I didn't want him to have the easy trip like Hunter had.
Sounds like it. You had him going all day then.
We shut down with 20-something minutes left on the clock.
Oh, man. What'd you think of that clock ticking in there?
That'll get to you. It'll wear down, Are we going to make it to, of course, we're shooting for a hotel on the road, Are we going to make it to our hotel, going to have the time? And, just as far as getting to destinations and everything, that's always pressing on you. So, well, can I make it today or is it going to be tomorrow? And that's going to delay my next load that I'm trying to get to that, my dispatcher has already told me about. That's got to play a huge role into what these guys are thinking out here on the road.
Yeah, don't you know it? So y'all got shut down 10 o'clock at night, got up next morning. Did you let him sleep in or what?
I let him sleep 9 hours. I told him at 9 hours and 45 minutes to be in the truck. Because as soon as that clock turned 10 hours, we were rolling.
Right.
10 hours, we started the pre-trip, and we rolled.
Good. And then where'd you have to go to? From Indiana, y'all went to?
Ithaca, Michigan.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Michigan. Okay.
Yeah, we went to ZFS up there to deliver the clay.
That's a pretty good little ride then on that day. Did you deliver it? You delivered it later that day, I guess?
It was fairly early the next day.
Yeah,
the next day?
Yeah, we delivered it on middle of the day, Tuesday.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Y'all were on up there then.
Yeah. So we kicked that off, and we headed south towards Hebron, Indiana. Washed out down there, spent the night in Hebron, and Wednesday morning we headed over to Ottawa, Illinois, to U.S. Silica, load sand, to go down to Albertville, Alabama.
Did y'all have to get washed out?
We did. We washed at Pride Truck Wash in Hebron, Indiana. So tried to make it in there Tuesday evening, but ran just shy, so we had to wash out first thing Wednesday morning and then head over to load. So
those washouts can be a little frustrating, can't they, Bobby?
That one's not bad. It's just they quit at 8 p.m. and we got there at 8:15.
Right.
We missed it by that little bit of time. But we'd been hung up in traffic that day.
So you didn't experience getting in and out of truck stops very often, did you? Just for fuel?
Later in the trip.
Later in the trip.
Yeah.
We filled up with fuel here at the Loves in Little Rock. And we didn't stop for fuel again until, well, we ain't even got to the next fuel stop yet. We've already made it down into Indiana and
got you sand on.
Illinois to get the sand. And I think we stopped, you were saying, in southern Illinois. Right before we turned south to head down to Alabama.
And then, so you got down there when Wednesday?
We loaded in Illinois Wednesday, delivered first thing Thursday morning in Alabama. And we washed out in Alabama, in Albertville. Kind of a, I don't know, not too great of a wash after seeing it for ourselves,
Right.
They did a good job. It's just not a real nice location, and got to be careful you don't drag your load line.
Oh, rough getting in and out. What was the traffic like? Hey, you setting up in the truck, you getting this bird's eye view, and this. I know big trucks. I've been in a few. They take up the whole lane, and you're setting up in there. I know, thinking, man, how does he even stay in these lanes?
Yeah.
He didn't scream too many times.
He didn't.
There's a couple of times someone pull out in front of us, and I, tense up, and he's like, "What are you doing over there?" I'm like, "You gonna slow down?" It's like, "I got plenty of room." I'm like, "Okay, just trying to keep it cool over there, act like I wasn't freaking out."
But really, you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I mean, the traffic's sitting up there. You get a whole different perspective, don't you?
Yes.
We went through Chicago. That was congested. And
It wasn't bad.
I thought it was.
That's the difference, isn't it, Bobby? When you never done it, I mean, gives you an idea though, going through that kind of stuff.
Not
He got to
something
see
you
some sights he'd never seen before.
Like what?
Crossing, it's on I-70. I want to say it's Indiana. When you cross out, there's a big rock quarry. And it's just amazing when you go through there how big and how deep it is.
Mm.
And he got to see that. And what was some of them? The St. Louis Arch.
Yeah, we went through there. I mean, I went through 5 or 6 different states I've never been into. I hadn't done a whole lot of traveling, so.
Well, I mean, young man from Bologna, trust me, they hadn't been far.
No.
I know. I got 2 boys from there.
But we didn't do any real sightseeing out to the Great Lakes or anything like that.
Were y'all humping it pretty much every day?
Every day.
Absolutely. We were truck stop food. We weren't getting the nice, sit down dinner and Ubering to the lakes like Hunter.
Yeah.
We were putting in the work.
We weren't on vacation.
Yeah.
We were working.
Right. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That, yeah. We may have to investigate more on this Hunter deal.
Exactly.
Check it out a little more.
Yeah.
Some credit card receipts or something.
Mine wasn't as smooth as
It
Hunter's.
wasn't?
No, by any means.
What happened to yours?
So we started, I went with David Higgins. He's from Springdale, Arkansas. I chose him. He goes anywhere, and he's pretty good in shape. So I knew if we really had to get in there and dig, I was out on my own.
You gonna leave it up to him?
Well, I knew I could get some good help from him. But we loaded brown rice out of Jonesboro, Arkansas, at Riceland, and took it up to Richmond, Indiana, and to Hill's Pet Food. So, first day, go over there, sat there an hour and a half, got loaded, drove out the rest of our clock, got to, Indiana, pretty close, and, hotel, had dinner, real nice. I was like, man, this is pretty easy so far. Woke up next morning, got going, and we stopped. He goes, hey, you want to get some lunch? Because our appointment time was 2. He was like, you want to get some lunch before we go in there? I was like, no, I ate a big breakfast. I'm good. He said, you sure? I said, yeah, I'll just grab a snack. So I got water and beef jerky. Going there at 2, and we ended up spending the night there.
Oh,
they
my.
kept on telling us, yeah, it's going to be tonight, it's going to be tonight, it's going to be tonight. Well, that night ended up into the next morning. So it got to be like 9 o'clock. I looked at him and I said, if you want to jump back there and go sleep, I'll try to sleep up here in the front seat. And that's what we did. I was like really hoping they'd come get us,
So you couldn't leave.
No. I mean, at that point, it was leave and they might unload you later that night or...
Right. You didn't want to lose your spot.
Yeah, exactly. There was a ton of trucks there. And I was like, well, I don't want you to be missing out on getting unloaded and us missing a load tomorrow or, leaving out late tomorrow. So we ended up staying and
All night.
all night.
How'd the front seat sleep?
Man, my back has not recovered from that. It was tough. It was very tough. I slept like an hour or 2 here and there, 30 minutes there. It was tough.
What are you pointing at Sawyer for?
He did the same thing.
Had to sleep in the front seat?
Yeah, we got to Jackson, Mississippi on our last load. We were going in. Jerry calls us, change our appointment time. We thought we were loading at 6 p.m. He calls us at 5:30. that tell us we don't load till 5 o'clock the next morning. Well, we just had a hurricane come through New Orleans. Everybody evacuated north. There's no hotel rooms to be gotten. So we make the call. I said, look, we're going to go in there and at least talk to them. Maybe we can slip in and get loaded early. So we did. Got in there. They said, give us about an hour. We got someone coming in. Guy come in. He couldn't move the rail car machine out of the way. So they let us drop the trailer on location, and we bobtailed over to the Petro, which was one of the few decent meals we got on that trip. And I keep an ice chest as a table in my front of my truck. He turned it sideways. He laid across the seats.
How'd that sleep, Sawyer?
It was a little rough. I was, after being in the seat probably, 16, 17 hours that day, I was bound and determined to stretch out. I even went into the truck stop and bought me a pillow and blankets. I was just going to sleep outside.
Yeah?
I was that desperate.
Not in Jackson, Mississippi.
Not in Jackson, Mississippi? Did you try?
No, he wouldn't let me.
Those seats are not made for sleeping in at all. Do not sleep in those seats at all.
Ain't much recline to them?
No, I found that out real quick.
Well, that's a good story right there. You get, that's part of trucking, isn't it, Bobby?
But both these guys actually got the real experience.
Yeah,
getting
sounds
hung
like
up
it.
at customers, fighting traffic. We didn't have it smooth like Hunter. I don't know what he did, how he planned his trip out. I'd like to know, though.
Yeah, there's no telling. They probably didn't get as many miles as y'all did. Maybe that's it.
We did it faster.
Yeah, there you go.
I had to be home for our class Saturday morning, so we had to hurry up and get to Stuttgart.
You were getting it done.
We were getting it done.
Well, William over here, I don't know about his dispatching. He got hung up on the first load.
Well, I'll be honest. I chose that load. I was like, I ain't never been to Indiana. Let's go up there. And I really regretted it. But about 9 o'clock, David was like, you hungry yet? I was like, yes. I was like, I'm glad I got the tiniest bag of beef jerky. I was like, man, I should have ate. He's like, yeah, you probably should have. I was like, yeah, thanks. But that didn't end. So we got hung up, and that next morning, I was talking to a customer myself at that point. I was emailing him and all that, and Russell called me. He said, yeah, I talked to him. Y'all going to go down to Bowling Green to unload. So they diverted the load because they couldn't hold it. So we get out of there, eat, sit down, eat in Denny's real quick at the truck stop, get a good breakfast, and I ate that in 2 minutes. I was starving. And we go out to the parking lot, and he's leaking coolant. And we're like, oh, no, not this. No. And we're trying to fix it, and his one, like a 6-inch line snaps. So we're down. Broke down, essentially. And they stop unloading at 3, and we're like 4 or 5 hours out, not going to make it.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh, man. And he looked at me. He's like, man, went in Love's. They didn't have anything. He didn't have anything. He ended up having to call somebody to bring him just a $20 hose out that cost like $150. And it took about 2 hours to get. So
y'all put it on yourself?
Yes, it took 2 minutes.
Yeah.
The fastest fix ever. And I was just at that point shaking my head. So
Does this not make you realize now a little bit? you're sitting on the other end, why is he not going to make it,
Yeah.
And it just now you're there seeing it, why he's not making it.
I ended up calling Russell and said, hey man, we're broke down. And he kind of like laughed a little bit. He's like, you serious? I was like, dead serious. Not going to make it. So we just kind of looked at each other, and it was hot. Real hot that day. So we went back in Love's, and I ended up playing some video games, the deer hunting game in there for about an hour. And I think I got in one of those massage chairs and fell asleep.
So you finally did get some sleep.
A little bit. Still not comfy. Those are not that comfy either.
Well, That sounds like a pretty. Now you getting this is more like it. You guys are getting a taste of what it's like, aren't they, Bobby? I mean, this can happen any time out there, can't it?
And that way, when we call in, hey, we have this problem, we need to go in the shop, and they're thinking, well, we need to get this load there. They understand more now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's eye-opener.
Sawyer just had to help me get my truck started a while ago.
Oh, yeah? How was that? What'd he do?
He pull started it.
Had to take my truck out there and
I
tow a
didn't-
rope.
Your battery's dead or what?
No, batteries are hot. I think I got a corroded cable or something on my starter.
Oh, you took your pickup out there and hooked to it?
Oh, yeah. Had to squeal the tires a little bit.
Did you?
We got it.
Hey, whatever it takes,
That's
man.
it.
Let's get going. You got somewhere to be. That's good stuff, man. Y'all, overall experience, I mean, did y'all end up pretty good, William?
Well, after that, we got the hotel room that night. I was like, so thankful for that hotel room that night. I slept like a baby. Well, we got unloaded the next morning, and we went to Bowling Green, Kentucky, or Louisville, Kentucky, and loaded meat and bone meal. Man, Hill's Pet Food in Bowling Green is clean as can be. You go over there to Louisville, and you see the hogs going in there to be slaughtered, and you're getting meat and bone meal or pork meal, loading it, and we pull around in this dirt lot, and the guy comes out and gets your trailer, and they load it for you. And he asked us how much you want on. We told him how much, and he goes back there for about 2 hours. They get on it. Then he came back, and he was like, "You want more?" And we're like, 1,000 pounds short, and we're like, "We need, another 1,000." And he was like, "Oh, it's all, you get paid the same. It's all the same." And the hoppers don't. They get paid on their weight.
Yeah.
And we tried to tell him that, or David did, and he's like, "Oh, whatever, you get paid the same." And he's like, "No, look, my paycheck relies on me getting the weight on." And finally took it back there and put some more on, and we got the weight on. So that was a little frustrating. It's him trying to argue on how he gets paid, and it's like, look, you're messing with my paycheck.
Sound like that took a big part of the day to get loaded.
It took about 5-6 hours. So I sat there quite a while, and so that was Thursday.
There's nobody going to want to pull a hopper after this episode.
Man, I think this was probably I don't know. I think everybody was conspiring against us. Just because I was in the truck. Russell and David were calling me bad luck the whole time. It was all because of me on the truck. Just bad luck. But we took it to Memphis, and that was a little bit dirtier than I thought it was going to be, that facility, compared to the dog food plant.
I bet that pork meal was nasty, wasn't it?
It was pretty nasty.
Did it all come out of the trailer?
It came out really good, though, like really smooth.
Okay, that's good.
We got over there, and it was raining, and I remember getting out the truck, and I was going to walk down the backside of it, and it was wet and slippery. I was like, oh, no. I almost fell on my back. But we got it unloaded pretty quick. Or we sat there for about 3-4 hours. They had a few trucks there, and something with the pit, I think, was wrong. So we sat there also. Got unloaded. Then we came to Little Rock. And I told them, dude, once we get to the yard, because I live here in Little Rock, I said, once we get to the yard, we're parking up, and we're going to go sit down and have a good meal. And went and ate dinner. I was so happy to be home. And we didn't get back till about 9 o'clock, I think, Friday.
Friday night?
Yes, sir. And I was like, man, just...
Does he live here, too? Pretty close?
He lives in Springdale.
Okay.
He ended up working the whole weekend. And I'll tell you what, once I got out the truck, everything went smooth for him for next week.
So you are bad luck.
I guess. I guess so.
But what does that tell you, though? You spend a week going through that stuff, and now when that happens, has that happened since you've been back in dispatch to somebody?
Yes. Yes.
So how does that make you handle the situation?
For instance, like, when a guy's sitting somewhere for a long time, I really hound the customer for updates. At least tell us what's going on so we can tell the driver, instead of sitting somewhere for 16 hours and not know anything.
Right.
The more if they can tell us, then the driver can kind of know what to prepare for.
Well, because now you're they ain't got nothing to eat. They can't go nowhere.
Exactly.
I mean, I may have a bathroom, but along with everybody else parked there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. That's what why Oakley does this, for you guys to ride in there and you see some of those things for when it happens and you get back in that seat and these things happen that you can't get loaded or you can't get unloaded or you break down or, the plan doesn't go like it should, then you realize you probably have a little more sympathy
Right.
for what's going on out there.
For sure.
And a little more respect, I would think, would be the big thing for how these guys drive this equipment and operate it and are able to get it to point A to point B safely every day. I mean, how would you guys like to wake up in the morning and know you got to go another 500-600 miles, and then the next morning you got to go 500 or 600 miles?
I couldn't get him to pull the truck up for me in Ottawa.
Oh, yeah?
The guy said, come on in, have your partner pull the truck up. I said, go ahead and pull it up.
He didn't put no part of that, did he? Yeah, that's something else. How was your experience taking Sawyer, Bobby? I mean, as far as, did you get to see a little bit of maybe what goes on inside the office here?
I learned, how often he gets woke up in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah?
He can't. I mean, he was getting calls late at night. I mean, it's not a 8 to 5 job that he does, and sometimes he does answer it late at night. I've had to call him a time or two, but I try not to, and I try not to bother him on the weekends. But he does answer, and he will get us out of a bind when we do call. And it was also nice having over there. I can't stop right now. How many hours do I have left? If we take a 30-minute break, are we going to pick up enough hours to get where we're going? He could log in. I mean, he's my navigator. He said, hey, do this, get around some traffic. And so it was
handy.
It was a big help having him.
It was handy, I bet,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Co-captain.
Yeah.
So are you guys, y'all's next step is getting your CDL, I'm assuming?
I'm going to hold off a little bit.
And Bobby's probably not applying for a dispatch job anytime soon.
Got one open?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's that's good stories right there, because that's what we want our listeners to understand and hear, is that we try to do these things to improve the business, so we got us in the office can help you guys, owner operators out there, be more successful. I mean, that's what it ends up being. And the more we can understand your job, just like anything, the better you can do it, and help you in situations that happen out there on the road. So it's a great learning tool. I'm glad we do it, even though it's a little frustrating and can be a nightmare sometimes, but it opens eyes. I did it a long time ago. I remember I went with Greg Pullman for a week out, and it was a challenge in some situations, because you just don't know and where you're going, what you're going to do next, and so I don't know. We cheat a little bit, of course, because dispatch is in the truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I tried dispatching myself. I knew Russell and them were gonna, throw me a curveball.
Yeah.
And we had some loads come up, and we have a big old team chat we use on Microsoft, and I have it on my phone, so I see what they're talking about. And there's some loads potentially out of Indiana to Houston. And I saw that. I said, I want on that load. And they replied, shut up, William. Get back to driving. You're not dispatching.
They're taking care of that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Anything you guys want to add? The week you had out there? Sorry, you're all good?
Yeah, all good. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time.
I think it's a big help all the way around.
Yeah, I do too. I think it helps a lot in what we do here.
Yeah, it wasn't too terribly bad. Me and David talked a lot. We talked about what he wants, what he wants to make every week, which honestly cleared a lot of things up, made me see what he's working on. He's working on getting a new truck too, so, he's trying to make a...
You kind of see his side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to have more of that. I think maybe that, where we open up that communication line to our owner-operators, dispatch needs to communicate with them more. You understand more about what their needs are because everybody's different. And you're dispatching 40 of them or whatever, and you are too. I mean, everybody's got different needs, and we got to meet all those needs. And that ain't easy to do sitting in that dispatch seat, I promise you. That can be a challenge. It's a whole different world there. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me. It's great that you happen to be here, Bobby, to sit in with us on this deal and hear from your perspective too. And I really appreciate you doing that. And William and Sawyer, thanks for you guys doing it. I know it's I have to twist and everybody's arm to get them in here and do this, but I'm telling you, once it's done, it's very helpful to our owner operators and people listening on the outside. So thank y'all for joining me today. And once again, we will appreciate everybody listening to us, and don't forget to share this with everybody out there. Make sure our owner operators are listening to this thing too. We do this for their benefit and their family. So once again, we appreciate you listening to the Oakley Podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.